Hey, you're out in the garage with TheEZGZ. I am about to make a big mess for you guys. This is the oil from the recently rebuilt or played with 1800 motor. It has less than 50 miles on it. And I put it in one of these stainless steel pans and I covered up with another one, and it's been sitting Saturday, Sunday, today's Monday. So I kind of want to save this because it has such low miles, and we're going to look at what, if anything, remains in the bottom of the pan. I have suspicions that we're all going to be shocked at how much junk there is in the bottom of the pan, because I've done this so many times with oil changes. Wow. Ooh, I can see this. Did you know that oil does not wear out? The only reason why we change our oils is because the additives are gone and it gets contaminated. Now it's a bright sunny day. It's not as bad as I really thought. There's a few flecks. There's some metal in here. I'm seeing it. I don't know if I'm holding it right for you to see it. Yeah, that's really not that bad. I think that would be good for putting in my lawnmower. And I'm assuming that gravity has pulled most of those solid things down, and what I poured back into that container, oh, now I can start seeing more. As it's getting, I'm seeing more flecks. Oh, wow! It is super. Can you see that? It's like very fine metal flake spray paint. See the reflections in the sun? Get my fat head out of the way. Maybe that'd help get it in. Oh my gosh. It's just like a million little tiny shiny flakes. Is that coming through? I'm not talking about these big chunks. There's some gold. It's like gold dust down here. It's sparkling. Gosh, I hope the camera's picking that up. Isn't that amazing? And this has got a filter on it. This was a filter pump that I put on it. That is so cool. I think. Let's see, I don't want to put this. This is the bad stuff. This is the junk. This gets thrown away. Oh yeah. Usually it's not that fine. Usually you can see it. It's brighter. So, yeah, there's a lot of shaking and wiggling going on in these engines. And, you know, when you disturb things, when your engine is together and broke in, and this is why you break in an engine, whatever means you prefer. Oh, well, I'll just wipe it on my legs. That's where everything goes anyhow. So, we can come back and look at that. But I want to show you what else is going on. With no rest. We've put probably 150 miles on the tub buggy. I didn't do a mileage check yet, but I didn't have to buy any gas in that course of time. I'm just running on the 7 gallons that's behind the seat. And this morning I went and got a burrito, and when I came out and started it up, there was this big cloud of smoke. And when I got home, I parked it in the driveway, and there was this big mark here. I poured some gas on it to dilute it, and I reached down and dipped it with my finger, and sure enough, it's transmission oil. So I believe what happened is I blew the seal inside where the flange attaches to the transmission. So I have a spare seal. They're just little rubber deals, and so I've been known to reuse them, so it's probably one that I reused. And we went on a nice little ride. I went with a buddy of mine, made a video of that. I'll attach some of that to the end of this one. So yeah, really enjoying where the power band is on this. It fits this car very nicely. And we've got the 1600 here. I had robbed the rocker arms off of that, and I've got some stock ones that I'm going to put back on it. And this is, I don't want to push this one anymore. There's some issues with this motor. It runs, and that's good enough for me. It runs. So what I've tore into was the 2110. I want to have a look inside. I've never split the case since I built it. I've changed heads and I've cleaned it up, and I want to go back. Sorry about regressing, but a couple videos ago I was heavy duty talking about springs, and I was holding one of these okay, I know I have it here. Oh, please, 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 please. Okay, I was playing with the idea, if you recall, of this was another 40 by 35 head, a performance head, and it came with double springs. Those Magnum 44 heads came with double springs. I ran double springs in my 1776 when I first rebuilt it. Would put the hot little Gene cam in it, and he recommended double springs. That's what I bought. I ran it for years. Those are the heads that are on the 1800 now. In 2016, I had it shoved in my face so many times by different people up to that point. You don't need double springs. You're just wearing out your cam. You're just wearing things out. Costs you horsepower. You don't need double springs. Well, I said, okay, fine. And when I rebuilt it, I took them off. I took those Magnum heads off the 2110, went to single inner springs. I had purchased those heads brand new, came with double springs. I took those inner springs off. Here they are. I'm going to put them back on. Now, to the regression, as I was talking in that video and telling you, like, I was thinking about maybe I wanted to increase the spring pressure, but not too much, and I was saying I was going to push this in. And you'll remember I started to put it in, and then I took it out and I turned it around and I started putting it in. And the whole time inside there's another voice and talking to me. It says, why would these go the same direction? I thought these did have to go, but I didn't verbally say that. And then one of my saviors, several people in the comment section, somebody mentioned it. Hey, you can't use those springs in that. They're wound the wrong way. Don't put those in. And somebody put +1 under it. I'm telling you, I'm so happy that you people are here to watch my back, and the contributions that you make in the comment section are wonderful, and the support that I get is the only reason why I continue to post up these videos. Not to mention the fact that I'm bored out of my mind here with, we're still basically in lockdown. Things are starting to loose up, but I want to tell you that you don't want to put it. And if you look at this, just look where the tip of the spring is and the way it goes. And here's a stock spring, and it goes that way as well. Now, if you, all other springs, these heavy duty springs, it goes the opposite way. And if you look at this, you'll see that it's wound the opposite way. This would be the spring that would be on there, and oddly enough, it doesn't matter whether you turn it around. You can't do it wrong. Aftermarket heavy-duty single springs and double springs are wound in the opposite direction of stock springs. Okay? The inner spring has to go in the reverse spiral of the outer spring or any single heavy-duty spring. So it is wound the same as the stock spring. Therein, the mystery solved. Okay, now I put this back here because they're going back on these heads. And you say, we already talked about the 2110 and the possibility of putting the FK7 cam in here. The FK7 cam has very similar characteristics as an Engel 110, except it has that higher duration. My FK7 cam has literally no wear on it. And I recently read that it's foolish to not use, when you buy a ratio rocker cam, to use less than the specified ratio rocker than it is, or you're not going to benefit from the way the cam was designed. And that cam is designed for 500 lift. And I got 500 lift on it for probably 25 miles or less, and a valve guide broke. Now, I come over here, and this is a good idea. This engine was covered with red dirt, very fine dirt from Moab, Utah. And I don't think the air cleaners that I had were good enough. And I do a lot of dirt road chasing around here. In 2016, I took this engine out of the tub buggy and put something else in there. I put the 1800 in there. I came back from my trip and I was having the oil pressure issues, etc., etc., and I put it in the tub buggy and I took this one out. And I may have had it back in there for this particular Utah trip, but the real point here is that this took nothing to do. To just lift the tin off of it and unscrew it. And since I have my shop set up, the stand is here, the tools are out, the cabinets are out, the tables are out, I've got my mind in engine mode, so this is a good time to split this case and have a look inside. I've done that to the 22 set. I've done that to several engines. Just pop the case, looked at the center main bearing, maybe take the cap off of a connecting rod, examine them, look at them. I was in there for usually a cam change or something along that line, or just leaks, or in this case, this engine never had. I should explain this. This is a 2110. I built it a long time ago for the sand. On the sand, we were able to purchase aviation fuel at airports, and you probably still can, but at any rate, you would have to have a container. It was a pain in the neck. But for a week's trip to the sand dunes, you take 5-gallon jugs, 25 gallons, you're using like one a day. Maybe you got to make a trip back, maybe you don't, but you had enough fuel to generally last you for that week, you know? And that was the way it kind of worked. So this thing had 9.6 to 1. And this is the beauty of stepping up to the 82 millimeter crank, because that's what the B pistons and everything were made to fit. The 82, you don't have to use shims, and you'll have your 40 thousandths deck height, generally speaking. Whether you use 90.5, 92s, or 94s, you don't have as much problem with the deck height, and you don't have to have a lot of things. And most of the guys I was out there with were running 2276s with 110 cams. I had sold my stuff, I lost my job, sold all my stuff, and then got back into it, built another car, and I said, okay, I want to get a big engine, and I'm going to build it myself instead of buying one. And I says, I want to buy an engine. I'm going to build an engine that could work in a car. I'm building it for my sandrail, and I was heavy into Gene Berg at the time. At the time, he was the only... We didn't have internet back when I built this. We didn't have information available. All you had is Hot VW magazines and that other... The VW magazines, there was 2 of them, and Berg published these blue books, and he told you right in there, and he was not shy in the way he described things and why, and he backed it up. But he really put down a lot of people and what they were saying, and so I said, I am going to build this like the Gene Berg 2110, and I put the shorter connecting rods, 5.325 rods in it. Maybe that's how I ended up. We'll see when we take it off. We're going to do the compression check. But at any rate, the last time into this, I put these brand new heads on it. And I said, okay, these were 62 cc's. And I put 100 thousandth steel shim under the barrels. I got the compression down to like 7.2. And I was sort of thinking on the back of my mind, turbo. This isn't when I built it, but in 2016, I didn't want to put these heads on my 1800 because of this thin gasket area right here. I've had that blow out before, and it really messes up your idle and trying to set your carburetors. And it took me a while when I discovered that, and it happened to me. But now, with this recent swallowing of a valve guide, that FK7 can never had no wear on it because I was running 1-to-1 ratio rockers. And it was better than stock. It was a bump up from stock, but it wasn't what the cam was designed for. And a 110 cam, now I know that's not a 100,000 mile cam for sure. And I'm beginning to think anything in the 400 lift range is going to be somewhat short-lived depending on how you drive it, how hot you get it, how often, and how much you rev it. And if you want that low drivability bottom end and you don't have the money to spend on carburation and you don't want to put up with the aggravation of having dual carbs, then that's probably not a good... It works on the street just fine. With dual two-throw carbs, it idles like stock. But I see these valve guides in here, and I'm saying that's trouble. This is not what I want to put a 1.4 ratio rocker on. This is not what I want to throw in my car and drive across the United States with, because this, and for sure the biggest mistake is I don't want to put heater boxes. If you go to bigger valves, forget the heater boxes. Go in the time of the year when you don't need the heat. That's what it amounts to. And those were some mistakes I made, and it's published. That information's in the blue books. You can read it on Air-Cooled Net. You can... I don't know that they'll ever say that stuff in Hot V-Dubs magazine. All they do is promote the suppliers who provide us stuff, show pictures, and they have a lot of really good educational articles about different things that they think will sell their magazine. And I've learned a lot from those magazines over the years, but at some point I just, you know, I just, now I'm old enough, been doing it long enough, and my transition from the sand dunes to the street, I'm learning what is going to live on the street versus what's going to live on the sand. In the sand, it was common practice. I remember one winter, several of us built engines, and I bought this rev limiter. It's a 5500. I think it says right there, 5400, maybe that's model number. It's about that, Bosch 5500 rev limiter. So when you get up to 5500 RPM, your engine starts cutting out. And so we go to the sand dunes, Idaho, the big dunes, bigger dunes, taller dunes, and we start hitting some of those big hills, and it's like we weren't making it to the top, and we're at the critical place, and our engines are shutting off. And it's like, what? I had no idea we were revving our engines that high, but we were. And we all took our rev limiters out and put them in a bag and forgot about them and just went on and having our fun. And that's the way that sort of worked out. So we're going to crack the case on this. I wanted to tell you about the springs. I wanted to show you the valve guides. I mean, these are pretty heads. Whoever ported these things, I got them from AA. They did a great job. They remind me of the Panchito design, and I didn't do probably as good a job as I could have match porting them. And I didn't want to take my 044 standard manifolds and match port those, so I really didn't benefit. But when I look at this head, I'm saying double springs, ports like that, high RPM. This style of ports takes away from your low speed grunt. I'm starting to think I might put that 2280 on my 2110. I'll keep the compression up. Those I'll put the 60 cc heads. I put the 48s. The 48s were bone stock, and I really like the way they're performing. They're 48 cc's, and they have all of the guide boss. And when I say all of the guide boss, this is what we're looking at right here. Do you see that brass? Do you see the brass guide in there? No, it's got support from the aluminum that's holding it. If you don't have that there, and that 3,000 miles that I went on that trip, I was on one-to-one rockers, and I still, well, I don't know if it was the heater boxes or the rockers or both, but look at, let's see, let's just look at some of these here. Okay, here's another one. See? They'd cut away. See? See how the valve guide boss is... Get these in the same spot. Okay, there's the guide, and now you see the support. They're cutting that aluminum away. Before they install the guide, they're enlarging the port, trying to increase better flow. And it works! It works great! But don't expect 50,000 miles out of it. I'm going to make a bold statement here that others have made before me, because now I proved it to myself. If you're going anything above stock, don't expect over, 20 or 30,000 miles on your car. Now, I drove my tow buggy. I drove the wheels off that thing last summer on short trips, yoga, groceries, so on and so forth. 3,000 miles. I didn't have a chance to go on any long trips and play, but I drove that thing every day, several times a day, and only put 3,000 miles on it. So when you say 20 or 30,000 miles, it's not like your family car. It's not like a modern car. You know what I'm saying? These are air-cooled engines, and these are not the original alloy heads. And these are probably the ones, stock valve heads. I got it in my head. I may change my mind at the last minute, but these have the same problem. These have exactly the same problem as far as the valve guides go. See? They're right there. Actually, there's a little bit supporting that one. There's a lot. That's stock. Where's that other one? That other one that was like a blown up practice head that I chewed on. See? This one's got nothing. There is a little bit on this one. There's a little bit of a bump there at the base of it. There's nothing on this. No. Nope. If I'm gonna that FK7 cam with a 1.4 lift, these things will flow and it'll run and it'll scream, and you'll be chirping the tires and doing shifts at $5,000 for a while. Man. And that 288 duration, that's not good for bottom end. And if I put in the 1.25s, that's just, I'm still at 450 lift. I don't want to do that with these guides. Now this has got a C35 cam. I don't know what it is the matter with me. I hate to do what everybody else does. Those 110 cams are good cams. 1,500 to 6,000 RPM, depending on what kind of springs you got and what kind of exhaust, what kind of carburation. All those things come into play. But the thing that is unsettling about it is I want to eliminate some reversion, have a little bit more longevity. That cheater cam with 1-to-1s is 394 lift. I'm thinking I want to stay below 400 thousandths lift. I'm thinking that's a good idea. I'm just thinking for longevity, it's not moving as far. It should be better. We'll see how the geometry comes out on this, and we're going to pull it down and take a look at it. I know this has got the forged moly pistons in it. It's kind of a shame to, you know, not build it to its full potential. And I've got an exhaust system for it. I had these Sidewinder pipes on here before, and those didn't cut it. So let's go back out here and see what we see in that oil. It's out here in the sun. That is interesting to me. I don't know about you. I'm just weird. That reminds me of my lightning with that charcoal gray metal flake. See it? Look at it in the oil. See that? It looks like swirls. You see it? I hope that's showing up in the camera. It's sparkles. Yep. So I think it was a good idea to change that. You know, you can't have a filter. Man, can you see it sparkling from here? So I'm glad I changed it. I really thought, well, maybe I'll just run it till I get the first oil change on it. But my friend called me up yesterday morning, he says, I want to go on a ride, and the other guys aren't ready to go. And I says, well, I'm not going on any dirt roads. I said, I want to put some miles on my 1800, but I don't want to go on any dirt roads. And he says, okay, let's go. And it was supposed to be a hot day, and believe me, it was. So off we went, and luckily, I don't know at what point I blew that tranny seal, but I'm going to fix that. I'm going to put these solid rocker shafts where I originally got them, which is on this 1600, and move that out of the side. And then I'm gonna get into this thing, crack the case. I want to check out the case, the bearings. I want to pull the camshaft out, measure it, look at the lifters, check the lifter bores. Those are the important things. And it's been sitting here, and I drained the oil out of it. So I was thinking about doing a compression, but I don't even have the right side compression fitting to go in the spark plug hole, so that was pointless too. So we'll whip those off, and these haven't been on there very long. Gosh, I'd venture to say if they were on their 1,500 miles, I'd be surprised. But they were really dirty. This is 2 cans of carb cleaner, and I'm going to repaint my cylinders. You can see that I used the high temp silicone, and it didn't seem to be creating any kind of leaks or problems. There is all this, it's kind of like black inside here, and I don't know if that's the valve guides starting to leak already. We'll pull the springs off and we'll jiggle them, and we'll take a look and see what we can see and kind of ascertain what's going to do. I just can't see putting a stock cam in this much stroke and this much displacement. Even if I used, then I'd be using the 1.4 rockers. I'd like to get that 1.4 rocker thing to work, and I think if I had different heads with more support on my valve guides, I would risk it. But after just what happened, I'm not I'm not so sure I want to do that. And I've got a street sweeper exhaust. I'll put it in the buggy after I get it, just to run it and play with it for a while, and then in this tub buggy, and then decide. I was thinking maybe putting it in Valerie, the 66, but you know, it's a swing axle tranny. I'd probably use this transmission right here. This is one I had in it. It's a 412, and that 437, it's in it, but 437s are weak, and that one that's in there is howling, making them. I don't think it would last long if my goal here. I'm thinking if I could get, it's a 2110, if I could get 100 horsepower, 105 or 10 horsepower, I'd be more than happy. If I could get just enough where I didn't have to use the Kennedy stage 1 pressure plate, if I could use a heavy duty bus pressure plate, man, I think that'd be good. I think it'd be good. I think I'd live a long time. And I think when my son inherits his car back, he would like that. And I've got some Delordo 40s. I got 40 Delordos. I had 36s on it, and they worked fine, but I picked up some 40s, and they used to be on my sand car, and they worked really good. And I put the 45s in my sand car with, you know, these heads with a wild cam, and I got 48 Delordos right there. Man, those things, they've got progression holes, but they're on-off carbs. And I've got a set of used intakes. I went to a swap meet and somebody had one that was welded, and I got those cheap. I wouldn't mind. I would match port them. I would try to do what I could to help the flow. But you could make a wild engine out of this thing, but then you need a transmission to support all that. And believe me, I don't have enough self-control not to use that at least once every time I drove the vehicle. So I'm babbling way too long. I hope you guys come up with some suggestions that are good for me, make me think, and we'll talk to you soon. TheEZGZ out. And this was a brand new case when I built it. Well, we got a Rocky Mountain High. Hey, here with TheEZGZ. June 15th, and check out the snow. Still got snow on the Rockies. Windy day. On an old connecting road. Headed down towards the Pooter Canyon. Lot of traffic, a lot of people out looking for something to do. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subbing. TheEZGZ